car, please.
I just woke up to the money today. Fuck all that demon shit, I'm out to pray. I really posted on blocks with the gangs. I'm thinking about putting some stock in the braids. Back a little bitch, you ain't bad enough. All of my phones get mounted up. Bust out my wrist, bitch, I'm padded up. Yellow skin bitch and she tatted up. Keep that shit quiet though, keep that shit quiet. They really don't understand what I'm saying. Running outside, lot of bitches keep with grams. On a bill high, we got 85 bands. A lot of big names, we done put them on game. People told me about you niggas locked up in the chain. I don't unload a nigga, but when I see you, I'm exposed. Niggas so young, they don't feel like I'm an OG at the top with the old niggas. Since after rap, wipe his nose of figures. After them rapping the global figures. And I got loads of figures. Since I ran to the coupe, it's a blister. Your rich little nigga ain't official. You was broke, reading bricks, get a bitch. I just woke up to the money today. Fuck all that demon shit, I'm out to pray. I really posted on blocks with the gangs. I'm thinking about putting some stock in the braids. Back a little bitch, you ain't bad enough. All of my phones get mounted up. Bust out my wrist, bitch, I'm padded up. Yellow skin bitch and she tatted up. Keep that shit quiet though, keep that shit quiet. They really don't understand what I'm saying. Running outside, lot of bitches keep with grams. On a bill high, we got 85 bands. A lot of big names, we done put them on game. People told me about you niggas locked up in the chain. I don't unload a nigga, but when I see you, I'm exposed. Niggas so young, they don't feel like I'm an OG at the top with the old niggas. Since after rap, wipe his nose of figures. After them rapping the global figures. And I got loads of figures. Since I ran to the coupe, it's a blister. Your rich little nigga ain't official. You was broke, reading bricks, get a bitch.
Right now, you got Elijah and Skilly them stepping up, stepping on.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Same thing,
We're
same
now
thing.
ready for takeoff, so please fasten your seatbelts.
Get it, Liam. Switching up the vibes right now. How you mean? Hey! Jungling. Switching up the vibes and the tempo. How you mean? Yeah! Trust. Switching out the doubles and out the footsie. How you mean? I remember when I thought I was too bad, that I started them saying that I weren't too bad. These other guys didn't think I'll make it to the day that they said it's unfair too bad. Your money's down, that's why your money's down. I can't chat about my money's mad. You girls last birthday, you spend about a bag. You man, it's a bag, get your girlfriend a bag. Nobody else sees me, she go mad. Originator with it's a big in the bag. I can't stop shit, she go mad. Originator, shit, she go mad. You think you can beat me? You mad, you think you can clash me? Sure you can, you best about now. Or you can get a lyrical ear from a sure you can copy. This one's a banger, release your anger. Who's the best? My Brangoonies will tell you the answer. Who the suit, wearing guys in cities can't stand us. They don't understand us. When we speak and sound like this one's a banger. Release your anger. Who's the best? My Brangoonies will tell you the answer. Who the suit, wearing guys in cities can't stand us. They don't understand us. When we speak and sound like this, you get me. Brethren, cuz, brethren, brother, brethren, safe, brethren, you get me. Brethren, cuz, brethren, brother, brethren. Outlook, we speak and sound like this, you get me. Blood, brethren, nah, cuz, fam, brethren, yo, brother, bruh, brethren, cool, safe, blood, brethren, you get me. Blood, brethren, nah, cuz, fam, brethren, yo, brother, bruh, brethren. Bars, we speak and sound like this one. Live on mic, they know who's in. Switching the vibes and the tempo. Live at you. How you mean? Rocking and swaying. Literally. Skilly, where are you going though? Yeah. See tonight. Yeah. Reaching out to the Leeds crew, Manny crew, Birmingham crew, Leicester crew, Sheffield crew, Northampton crew, Milton Keynes crew, Londoner crew. Every crew. Love and appreciation, respect going out to you. Skilliam. Switching the vibes to the tempo. Re-energize mode. Junglist. How you mean? Let's go. Come on! Come on! We got a live on mic, they know who's in. We said live on mic, they know who's in. Yo, they know who's in charge when I send a man lyrics for lyrics, I'm calm. Yo, they know who's in charge when I send a man lyrics for lyrics, I'm calm. None of these men don't want no arm. These video killers ain't no lucky charm. Send a man lyrics for lyrics, I'm Say it to the man, lyrics for lyrics up. I'm calm, don't get it twisted, my brethren's on. Don't come to your ass or to your arm. Didn't when you think that's deep, no raw. I was like, that's not deep, that's arm. It was like, watch when I go to the gym. I was like, shut up, man, go to the car. Whenever the bus came back with arms, whenever the bus went home with arms. Bro, shut your mouth, you're a death man. Ain't to the line up, giving no guess, fam. I was in the range, fire left man, you was in me. Fire left man, man said P, but he's bad to the keyboard. Okay, but your girl still gonna press, man. Who said that? Them lot? Yes, man, tell the man, shut. Tell the man, yes, man, slew him. I never really like yes, man, but top with over this war, one, yes, man. Them man said, right, E for the ends, fam. I was like, no. He was like, yes, man, we share the culture, done no blood. You get me, man? Yes, fam, who's that in the fur coat? That's yes, fam, who's that with the very old shades, yeah. Coming in, I like you want it with jam, yeah. Coming in, I like you want it with jam, yeah. Coming in, I like you want it with damn, yeah. Skinny alive on the deck. Outlook 2015. Butters Boat Party.
Yo. Outlook. We're rolling. We're on the Butters Boat. Let's get it. Don't know. From one another day, from the other day, them why they just a combo from the other day. Look, from one another day, them why they just a combo from the other day. And when them see me, them feel look the other way. With the swarms in. Down crew.
You see them zone wicked.
Yeah.
Now this one. Later.
Yo, oh my God. Hey, right properly. I'm in the middle of the water. I'm in the middle of the water. I'm in the middle of the water. And I'm burning down my quarter. Hey, I'm in the middle of the water. I'm in the middle of the water. I'm in the middle of the water. And I'm burning down my quarter. Yo! Bloco. Inna the informer head, bloco, bust a shot inna the informer leg, bloco. Then it's the informer center. No me no chat to no further. But the bad and team. MTV the front of the mic, the two chat the mic, turn them to the beat. The bad and team. MTV the front of the mic, the two chat the mic, turn them to the beat. Yo, check. Inside the mix and then we go. She's got me feeling her flavor. She's got me feeling her flavor. She's got me feeling her flavor. And she's the most energetic raver. Look at the way she's shaking her bumper. And look at the knockers under the jumper. Like it in the tube, I want a pumper. Yeah, she's got me feeling her flavor. I got this girl in Newcastle, locked up the new one generals and Dizzy Rascal. After the show it's just like parto, then bouncing like bouncing carto. And I got this girl down broccoli. If I call this girl right now, it's a lot for me. At hot time she goes to the shop for me. She got me feeling lucky like I won the lottery. And I got this girl down Milton, light skin but she's looking like Harry Hilton. Had to pull up my pee and spend the night in the Hilton. The skin was so soft and silken. She's got me feeling her flavour. She's got me feeling her flavour. She's got me feeling her flavour. And she's the most energetic raver. Northampton, dancing but she's not dark like Butcher Banton. Trust me in the bed in a ramp when she opens the door, pulls out the rampant, then puts in the battery. Then looks me dead in the face and tells me pull out your sausage and batter me. Well, girl, don't flatter me. Just get on top of me, but I want to see that big bump of slap on me. Yo, Outlook Festival 2015. We're in the middle of the water. I'm in the middle of the water. I'm in the middle of the water. I'm in the middle of the water. And I'm burning down my quarter. I'm in the middle of the water. I'm in the middle of the water. I'm in the middle of the water. And I'm burning down my quarter. Oh my word. Elijah. Bloco. When the back.
Welcome to ThugCrowd Radio. Please listen to this important disclaimer in its entirety. All participants of this ThugCrowd Radio episode are characters. None of the stories told during these episodes are based on facts, truth, or reality. All works of fiction displayed during this episode that resemble real-life situations are coincidental and are not meant to serve as guides or tutorials to commit any crimes in any country. Please consult an attorney for local laws and regulations. And as always, trust your inner criminal.
Oh, sorry, I think we're on. Can someone say something?
Hello.
Oh, hello.
All right, hey, howdy.
Welcome.
Welcome. Hello. Hold on 1 second.
Welcome to ThugCrowd. Hold on.
Yeah, hold on just 1 second here, please.
Did you say technical difficulties?
Yeah. Oh man, I opened up the wrong link.
Well, that's never good.
Be chilling. Yo, what's up?
Nada. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Doing all right.
Just chilling here.
I got my fucking my ice back. I got my tea finally back. Pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I got new glasses so I can see again.
Hell yeah.
It's pretty great.
I love having glasses now. I'm like, I was such a, oh man, I'm not a glasses person. And then I got glasses and I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah, everyone wears glasses just if they want to. It's actually just personal choice. So
It's
Well, I was like,
amazing.
I didn't
how
want to
much I
admit it to myself. You know what though? The funniest part too. So the first time I got glasses, I put them on, right? I was like, wow, I can see. The first thing I just did was like look at like my Sublime text, and I just had like a rootkit like source code open that I was looking at. I think Dan shared at some point, and so that was like the last thing I was looking at, and I was like using this big blocky like font. Like, you know the fonts that I use for the show notes? I used to use those in my IDE because they were so big and blocky that I could read them with like a ton of colors. And then I looked at it and I'm like, I can see. And then Kermit just goes up to me and just goes, "Hey, you should go outside and like look at a tree." Source code. I was like, I was obsessed. I was like reading. I'm like, I can see every single thing. All the colors look amazing. I'm like, wait, I forgot. Like, yeah, trees and rocks and like people.
I put my glasses on, and the first thing I did was I was like sitting in front of my computer, and like everything was like super blurry because I have super bad eyesight for like a week. And I put it back on, and I was like, "Holy fuck, there are pixels here!" Like, like
you guys didn't catch it. This podcast is about glasses now.
Yeah,
and optical accessories.
The Four Eyes podcast.
We're sponsored by Warby Parker.
When I reinstalled this box, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make my font, because I got 4K monitors or whatever. So I was like, I'm gonna make my font size of my terminals bigger because it'll be smooth, so easy to read. And now, like, I've been using that setup for a while, and I look at the font, and I'm like, fuck, I can barely read that. So I think I might have to join the club. Like, that's
it's
a good guy.
One of us. One of us. One of us.
You'll have random headaches that you used to get that'll just kind of disappear, and you'll be like, "Oh shit, that's what those are."
Yeah, but then also like don't stare at computer screens for too long. Your eyes will.
Well, I mean, I wish you had told me that, 20 plus.
Everything's fine.
This is fine.
But yo, so how's everybody's weekend? Anyone do anything cool this weekend? Nothing?
I did. I wrote it down and then I put the notes somewhere else. But freeform.
The only way you know what you've done is just little scraps of paper that you're just
I wrote it down, but my dog ate it.
And then I made it an origami, and then I don't even know where that shit went. But I did a stream late-ish Sunday night, like around 9 something. My laptop is super ratchet, so I had to putz with it. I got the video output to work booting up Tails on a tour session, but like it was the most cursed color shit ever. It's great.
Yeah, I remember that. That was insane. It was like a weird, like trippy, like Windows like 3.1 like color scheme.
Yeah, I definitely dropped Hot Dog Stand as a reference to what it looked like, and then the captchas were all whack.
Yeah, the captchas are unsolvable. It's like what a computer sees. It's just like
this is
weird gradients of
captcha solving screen.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you have a link to that? You can drop into the chat if you want to.
Oh, word.
Man. Also, that's the first time I've heard hot dog, like someone refer to Hot Dog Stand in forever.
Oh God, yeah.
So Hermit did that dorking stream. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hermit did multiple dorking streams.
Yeah, she has. She's just been kind of like going wild. It's like usually like it's basically like what she does like just all the time, like in her free time, and then just putting it on stream and just going super fast, just like finding the weirdest stuff I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I like jumped in and was watching it for a little while, kind of flipped away for a second, and it was a totally different environment. I was like, wow, you're in another universe right now.
I thought, like the comments are pretty funny. Like, why would anybody ever do this? Lol, move on to the next like 12 things.
Yeah. It's like as soon as you want to make a comment about how ridiculously terrible something is, there's something 3 times worse that just pops up.
Yeah, no, it's been pretty cool.
That I liked was Googling the fake names that were used in the comments.
Yeah, you just find endless spam pages that are just like fake Facebook comments that are just like the comments don't even make any sense either. It's just like This just such lazy fishing. Like
they throw in one that like pretends to be complaining about it to make it seem realistic instead of just praising endlessly.
Oh yeah. So yeah, if you go to any site that's like trying to get you to download something, they'll have a bunch of product reviews at the bottom. And yeah, then there's the one guy who's like, you know, are you guys real people? And then his buddy's like, yeah. He's like, oh, cool. It really works.
Yeah, I like this one guy's name is like Frank Miller. I'm like, wait, are you a graphic novelist?
It's very generic names. I love that. I love also just very unique names to try to make it also spice it up, and it's like too unique, and then yeah, you can just enumerate all your other stupid spam things.
It was like that the Nintendo baseball game, and the American team just had names that would like never
Those crazy names.
You know, it'd be really cool to make a word list of fake names and just loop through it.
Willie Dustus.
That was one of them. Yeah, actually, Herman and I one time we found there is this like weird site that there's no trace of it anywhere online anymore, but it was like this endless source of like the most bizarre names that were supposedly the names of every like number, like in an exchange. Like if you look,
It was like a fake phone book, and every single thing was like sequential phone numbers. Every single one had a fake name, and I can't think of a single beneficial reason for this.
It might be a test server. I know that that's something that actually is used a lot. It's like
phone number.
Yeah, no, I mean, like seriously, I've done that before where you fake sets of phone numbers, names, and email addresses, and even first, last, home address stuff.
Well, some of the info is real. I remember looking at it. I found it. There'd be like one random business, yeah, and then the rest of it, anything that they didn't know, would be just filled in with just complete garbage, which is amazing.
Like, somehow or another, someone had to compile the list of fake names for this.
Yeah, and some of them didn't make any sense. There was like Akira, like von Hoffman, like just like
not even in the realm of.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody with that name, most likely.
Do you guys remember like directory.io or whatever? And it was a list of like every single Bitcoin address and its private key.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a couple of sites now.
So it's just, but it's procedurally, it's generated. Sorry, it's just generated. So like, if you go to like page 10, it's like the increment of like however many per page, like times 10 or whatever.
A or whatever.
Yeah. So like you'll never like actually finding and the address that you want is probably gonna never work. Like you better have a whole.
Yeah, although if you do that for long enough, you know, especially if you distribute that effort. Well, and somebody figured out that you can somehow speed up the iteration of Bitcoin addresses using like by traversing the tree. There's a specific way to do that. So somebody was able to really effectively brute force.
That's that story of that person. It was like they were calling him the Bitcoin bandit, which is like so cheesy, but that's essentially what he's doing, is crawling the chain and then just emptying wallets because of I'm assuming this issue, like guessable.
Yeah, so I think one of it was God, I really want to find this thing again. Somebody did a really good talk on basically, here, I'll put it in chat. This was a talk done by Ryan Castellucci on cracking brain wallets.
Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff as well where limiting the space needed to be to be iterated over due to like random seeds not being set properly, or like
I think at least a few of those like wallet generation sites had insecure randoms as well.
Just the RNG was just like inherently flawed, and you could relatively like predict it within a certain range and brute force it, like especially like Android apps that would generate wallets, because the space was just so small.
Interesting. So cool, man.
Steal Bitcoin. We're not telling you to steal Bitcoin. We're telling you to research Bitcoin.
I think you should research the hell out of it.
Yeah, cosplay the stealing of Bitcoin.
Research the hell out of other people's money.
Yeah, because the so a lot of the currencies that came out, like earlier currencies, were just like straight up hard forks of Bitcoin. So people who then like made wallets for it just like forked it and like never merged the code back in or anything. Fuck that.
I love it. I think it's amazing that we live we do now live in the time where math crimes exist, and you can steal money with math. It's fucking beautiful.
Space crime.
Your high school math teacher told you so.
And gay space.
Yes,
So
gay
really
space
what
crime.
we need is a gay space math cyber crime. I think that's something that needs to.
What we need? What?
A gay space math cyber crime.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, she was in
like,
a bank
see how many
account,
things you can
so
combine.
there's got to be some math involved.
Yeah, but the
with a
crime
bank account,
itself
right?
was not enacted using math.
Look, I'm
A
trying
lot,
my best here.
yeah. Any monetary crime, I feel like is a math. We got a lot of news this week and a lot of cool projects to talk about and a lot of
Hell yeah.
Safari things. So let's jump into it. So the first one here that we have is people have been kind of freaking out about it because of the name more than anything else. We didn't talk about this last week, did we? This could come out like right after. Unless we did.
I don't think we hit it last week.
The Netcat one?
No, we haven't done that yet.
No.
Definitely
Okay.
not.
Yeah,
Oh, wait.
so we didn't. Because there's some stuff that came out. So the thing that's tough about it is that when things come out on Tuesday, if I don't have if I just like have updated the notes and I'm like, I don't care, I'm not gonna like put a thing on there, but then we like miss some stories. But yeah, this came out on Tuesday about the Netcat CPU side channel attack, which is pretty cool. So kind of was pretty complicated and needs couple prerequisites, but basically it's a way to infer using multiple different types of side channel attacks, like reading keystrokes, different timing attack, statistical analysis on various timings in the CPU and be able to infer like data that was being processed like in the cache, which is pretty dope.
Yeah, I refuse to read any of it based on the dumb name that they gave it.
That's what I felt. Yeah, a lot of people were mad about it, and it was like, "Oh yeah, this thing called Netcat." I mean, it makes sense because it's a remote thing, and you can cat something, so it seems.
Oh
like
no,
it
it's
makes sense, but it's a very well-known tool.
yeah, it's like, yo, you've never heard of Netcat, and yeah, I believe it.
For my
Imagine never hearing of
next
Netcat,
vulnerability-
but knowing what CPU like cache.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I don't think
it's
so.
bullshit, right? It's got to be bullshit.
It got a pretty low severity as well, just due to complexity. But I think in the right situation, pretty powerful. And I think that's part of with these really advanced techniques, knowing how to use them is fine, but knowing when to use them is like way more important.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, like, I'd be interested to see, if you can do this by a PDF, what kind of libraries and tools are, exploitable using that methodology.
You can do it remotely. That's the thing, is that it's remotely exploitable. There's a ton of different. If you watch the video for it, it explains a bit more about it. But you can trigger it remotely, but it's you have to have physical access or have malware on the machine. I mean, if it's something like, I don't really know like which specific. I mean, it's for a server, so it's pretty generic. Like use case, it could be any kind of OS. As long as you have something that can access the hypervisor, it is very complicated if you exploit it like in like a VM somewhere. But
it specifically needs RDMA, remote DMA. Like, think about that. That's
those are the scariest letters to put together.
They haven't heard of Netcat. No Netcat.
It's real MDMA.
Yeah, you're not gonna find that real easy.
I think the biggest part of the story is that why would they lie about not knowing about Netcat? Like, that's
they didn't say that.
Crazy.
No, it's just like the fact that they named their vulnerability Netcat is either they somehow don't know about Netcat or they're evil.
Did nobody read the thing? Because they
somebody asked them.
No, they said they did it on purpose. They said it was a pun. Because
there you go.
It's catting, like it makes sense. It's just I mean, a lot of people though didn't like take it seriously or read it because one, it's a very obscure CPU side channel attack, and also it's called Netcat. And everyone's like, "Oh, this must be a joke."
Well, and it's just like, yeah, if it doesn't impact you, you're not going to be talking about it. If it's so incredibly difficult to, like, it creates a who's on first type scenario.
It is funny though, like people complain about like named vulnerabilities being like all like dumb and hyped up, and these guys are like, nah, like we're just gonna like the name's a joke, right? And it's like there's no winning, right?
Oh my god. I mean, to be fair, it does give you an identifier to talk about it with. I'd rather it be a satirical, like, bullshit name than. Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not sure
same
which
here.
one I'd rather have.
I mean, as somebody who does talks with CVE names, literally nobody likes to hear about CVE 2018-100210.
Right.
You say it,
and it's like, good luck remembering that unless you're working with it a lot.
right.
Like the Deja Blue Bugs. Do you know any of the CVEs from those?
No.
I mean, the only one I remember is like CVE 2015 001 or 0001 or whatever, because it was MySQL bug. That's it. It's not even relevant.
Well,
Randomly
there's
generated
like the first
there's
bug
like
of the
four CVEs.
there's like a few that stick out in the general conscious, but yeah, for most part, you're not gonna remember
names. For the
Well, and
most
it's
part.
like, at most, I remember the year. Like, Shell
I
Shock
think
was
that
2014.
2019.
Every bug needs a logo, so the next one we have a design contest for a 0 day as a way to drop it.
Oh my god.
Can someone make a like procedurally generated like
Oh my god.
generates names and logos for CVs?
Like,
This
take the
exists.
description.
Somebody
Yeah.
totally made that. I don't know the link
Oh,
off the
that's
top,
great.
but that's a thing.
I love it.
I'm
That's great.
surprised, but not surprised.
Yeah, no, that's one of those things that definitely needs to exist. So.
All right. Well, let's move on from
Yeah,
this
let's move on
one.
to the next one. So this one, Dan, you've been really rallying against this, and everybody talking about it on Twitter. Simjacker. This has been something when I first saw this come out, right? I was like, oh damn. I started looking at it, and then it slowly just seemed like something that I don't really know. You described it as it seemed like somebody selling consultancy services.
I think I literally said this is just an example of a paid advertisement in news form.
Well, I mean, they do have really significant, nice graphs and stuff on the report.
Yeah, no, I mean,
sure.
Let's just get to the crux of this attack, right? Okay, so the device receives SMS through to SIM. How the fuck does it get back through all the layers to send an SMS?
Well, it's using the SIM toolkit. So the SIM toolkit is basically like a wrapper for a bunch of other stuff that would run on a SIM card. You can run with the SIM toolkit. You can run pretty much anything that's similar to an AT command. Any modem programming thing you can do with the SIM toolkit, and then some.
Yeah, it's literally just like any of those run-of-the-mill spy on your spouse thing. Like it's
so my
new.
understanding was like it's a very small subset of devices that has this that are impacted by this as well.
Typically enabled. I mean, SIM toolkit is pretty like prevalent. Like you can find it in a lot of places, but it's not like the configuration that's required for it isn't always available. So when I was thinking about it, I have quite a few devices that use SIM cards in my wheelhouse, and I was thinking about it, and none of them are anything that would be affected by this. But then the other thing is that providers can simply just disable the ability to send these kind of commands over SMS.
Well, it doesn't. It looks like
I think
it
they followed up and said that none of the carriers in the U.S. do it.
Yeah, it's
None
not
of the
US.
carriers in the US.
Yeah, so it's very very small, like actual affected thing. I mean, realistically, yes, it is a vulnerability, but it's something that is already been taken care of in a few places, and it's just simply not supported by default on many devices.
Well, and it looks like it needs to also have an ASAT browser set up.
Yeah, well, that's a part of the SIM toolkit. So this sort of thing.
Okay.
There are countries, there are whole mobile networks that really rely on the SIM toolkit, and they rely on applets that are loaded from a SIM card for all sorts of things. If you watch the Secret Life of SIM Cards DEF CON talk, they go into a lot of detail about how this specific stuff works. And so there are countries and there are places that will use things that have direct access to the SIM card and the SIM card's, like more exotic commands. But yeah, it's definitely not the most common thing, and it's even if it is, it's not like it's in very very like small places. Then it can be also managed at a network level.
So one of the things that I thought was kind of interesting about it is that my comment kind of resonated with some people, and it was probably not wise to frame it the way I did exactly, but it's my comment. It's Twitter. I'm commenting and stuff, right? But yeah, there were people that reached out that were I was kind of surprised to hear from. I'm being vague, but like I kind of asked them not to talk about it, and so I'm trying to
we can move on then.
It just
Yeah.
this graph, like I'm just wondering, like there's always this accomplice device. Like, is that required, or if you can send this SMS back, why don't you just send it back to the same device that sent you the SMS?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, it seems like they've made this very complex graph to confuse and amaze you.
Well, I mean, it's great sales material, right? For your next customer.
Yeah, the more good
Potentially.
graphics with arrows, like the more arrows you have on a picture, the more likely I am to buy the thing.
It's directly proportional.
Yeah.
All good bones emulate a recycling chart.
There does need to be a certain color ratio too, though. That is very important.
A lot of green, but also a lot of red with little skulls and crossbones.
Yeah, anything to really just draw your eyes.
Yeah.
Preferably in crayon and finger paints.
Now you're speaking CEO language.
Wee wee. Hey, so the next story that we have is the people who were busted for breaking into a courthouse during a red team exercise. Did they confirm that this was an actual red team thing, or did they go over?
Yeah. It was an actual red team thing because they're from Coalfire.
Well, I wasn't sure if it was if they went and overstepped their bounds of what the scope was, because I had seen a bunch of conflicting reports because a lot of places just simply are like, well, they broke in. I mean, it said that they were hired to break in. Like, who would do that? Like, like people who have no idea about like that kind of work.
Yeah.
So it was hard to get the right details out of it. So I wasn't sure if anybody had seen any follow up for this.
I mean, I did see something that the client had not anticipated brute force entry.
Yeah, it said that they didn't. That wasn't something they were expecting to be a part of the engagement.
Expecting,
so,
or like
if you haven't, but like if you haven't explicitly agreed upon it, then I would say that that's probably not in scope.
Yeah,
They weren't expecting forced physical access. Yeah.
Right, like it's like if I don't say you can break in, then it's not in scope.
Yeah, and somebody that I follow on Twitter that does this kind of thing basically made a few statements about like, if you don't have a letter that is like on your person at the time that you're arrested with immediate contact details to somebody who can verify it, don't do it. Like, you be ready to be caught, and then make sure that that person is expecting the call so that they can discreetly push it under the rug while you continue the operation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's also one of those things where like you could be putting that person into a tricky situation, like, legally as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
right.
Yeah, there's
There's a lot of
lawyers
crazy
all
stuff
up and down every single part of this story. Like in between
Yeah.
every single thing, there's a million lawyers who are just stoked because someone's getting sued. That's just plain and simple how it's going to be.
Yeah, it seemed just like a severe lack of communication that just ended in people going to jail. So that sucks.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Did the police make a statement and like apologize or anything, or?
I don't think so. I think this is,
No, I mean,
they're set to
the
go to
police
court
were-
on the 23rd. So
Yeah, no, I mean, in this case, the police were doing their job, right? Like,
Right. No,
these guys
I
had no. Yeah.
I was curious if they went the extra mile and said we're sorry for blah blah, but I mean it's the police.
Yeah. I mean, it's also like if the company has not backed down, then the police Like it's not really their place to worry about that. I think.
So
We're not
updated
gonna-
September 13. The SCA recently made aware the break-in the courthouse, blah blah blah, similar nature break-in, blah blah blah. Transpired and has no information to share at this time. So that's from the Iowa Judicial Branch, and so I guess they're not saying too much until it's sorted out.
Lawsuit.
Yeah, I would say everyone's playing everything real close to the chest, which is a bummer because
Yep.
I would really like to know, because it's just like I don't think I've
Yeah.
seen a story like this, at least in like 2 years, right? Like
Yeah.
this is
I wonder
this is
how
a pretty
often
rare
that
one.
happens.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I
It'd
mean,
be interesting.
I
to
just
know.
don't understand. Like, communication must have gone so incredibly wrong there for that to have happened, right? Like,
You think so?
I don't
think it's
know
really
how.
simple, huh?
I just don't know how there could be ambiguity around like you could break into this building or you can't, or just not saying it.
I think there's a lot of cases like even you see online people go like, "Hey, hackers, come and test my website." Like, and so you don't have a piece of paper to back that up. You don't have any sort of like if you break into
Right, but Coalfire is an organization. They're a company that does this as contracting.
I mean, they're also it's like make no mistake, this is the government. Like this is a government agency we're talking about. Like this is
Like they're not going to be willy-nilly and saying, "Come test us," and we'll.
Super well versed in what all these things probably mean. They're not, there's a lot of places for things to get lost in like
I don't know. I think that
down. There's just like
yeah, agreed.
I feel
when it
like
comes to auditing,
it's one of those
though,
things where
I think that one of the things that a government is good at is making sure that, like, I don't know, when it comes to getting audited or whatever for anything, like financially or whatever, I would imagine that they're very, very cautious about their approach to it. Probably overly cautious in a lot of cases.
Yeah. All about the importance of communication.
Yep.
And also using Dolby VPN Club. Rest in peace.
Yeah. Make sure that if you are going to engage in any sort of security testing, make sure you do have all of the stuff laid out, agreements, handshakes, also with
And
lawyers.
have that paper on you.
Make sure that the lawyers handcuff each other together before, like, during the time of the engagement, so that they have
handcuff every single person.
Better go on your engagement with your lawyer.
Yeah, well,
Or
and
at least
bring,
at the very minimum with the paper authorizing you. Like you should definitely have the contract with you if you're gonna do it.
Esquiring, if you want to go on a ride along one time, ask one of these guys for red teaming engagement and go for a
ride along.
Go for a ride along.
I would love
like a cop, like a little kid, like the state fair, like.
It's training day 2.
It's Kevin Hart, the Black Hammer.
So let's move on to the next story here. This is about this antitrust panel that is seeking documents from the 4 big tech firms. So it doesn't really give too much detail about like the whole like why or like what's going to happen with the investigation, but they're basically seeking communication between all the big executives of all the big 4: Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and Google. Just because of how crazy everything is. I don't really know. I guess it's all I can really speculate about, but it seemed interesting enough to throw in here.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like you read it and you're like, someone like in the government's like, there's some crimes here somewhere. Let's just.
I mean, like, there's a lot of stuff that is already. I mean, like, we know that just by sheer, if you're looking at the markets and how things have been going with people being able to just like do like global policy stuff, like Google just kicking like Huawei and China out of stuff and like other things like that, where it's just like tech companies are not just like companies that are just have like a cool little app. It's like literally like geopolitics is like happening like through them. And so
I mean, like, look at Facebook. They basically own countries and can influence elections.
Yeah, and so that kind of stuff is like, yeah, I mean, I definitely think it should be looked at. I don't know like what they're gonna find or what's gonna happen, but I don't think that it just should. The company should be allowed to exponentially grow, like as big as we are.
I think what happened, like also something that came up in a Slack channel was that if Google wants something, like if you're a competitor in any way or you have an idea or whatever, they'll probably buy you, or they'll at least pretend to buy you, and then you'll hand over IP, and then they won't buy you, and you'll go broke, and they'll win. And they can just basically do this forever. Like they have enough money to like do whatever. Similarly, Apple look at their app store and they're like, what are the top apps? Oh, which of these apps can we integrate into iOS? We'll just make it a feature. You won't need an app anymore because we'll put a third camera on it. Hell yeah.
Like, I can get Clash of Clans. It's like a home screen. Like it's just, it's just like that's where I do all my my banking from.
Yeah, like
one of the best like tweets I've ever seen was talking about AWS reInvent, where they lock the doors and cut everybody's throat and take over their products. It's like a red wedding type situation. It's like, you have these companies that have all these random features and are just ripping everything they can from other companies.
That's like AWS. You need a cert to navigate their screens.
Well, and it's just like there's so many services. What was it? Was it Mongo or Elastic that they caused a big? I think it was Elastic that caused a big licensing concern, and prompted Mongo to change their license, if I remember correctly.
It's funny, like I just imagine someone at Amazon literally forgetting, or Amazon just forgetting they have a service, like.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Like, oh yeah.
I think you can spend years using Amazon and still not know every feature they have.
Yeah, there's always new ones. But I think, like these, what goes on inside these companies and where they operate. Like there was a whole bunch of stuff where if you purchased a product from like Microsoft in Australia, I'm pretty sure it was Microsoft and Google, I can't remember. There's a couple of companies got in trouble for this, where they were based out of Singapore, so they were evading like Australian taxes and stuff, where it was technically legal, but not really. And like they have enough power to like sort this stuff out, and that's I think the outcome will potentially be the opposite of what we've seen, because the too big to fail always comes in. Like, no, that's like Google is too big to fail. It has too much data or whatever. And I think we might see, if anything, parts of it just sort of breaking off into smaller, like the teams that are already like separated, just breaking off into smaller self-operating things, and then still feeding back into the greater Google. But just as an example, like the opposite of this acquire everything. Either way, I don't think the everyday, day-to-day usage or the reach will change in any way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree. And it's just like, I think that what might happen is they might say, "Oh, we're gonna give you, a fine or whatever," which for any of these companies is completely irrelevant, basically, no matter how high you go with that. Yeah. But it's like a symbolic victory.
This literally $1 trillion fine.
Yeah, like you could charge them $250-300 million, and they'd be like, "Ow."
It reminds me of like the swear jar as a kid, like.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I used to love that when I was in school.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if companies like Amazon, Google, Microsoft have like a budget for, all right, we're going to pay this much money just to like make legislation feel like they're powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, also you're literally just paying to do whatever you want.
Like companies attain personhood, but at the same time they're completely impervious to the consequence of it, which is
well, I mean, it's also like any sort of lawsuit that you file against them, I'd imagine they'll probably just settle.
When something reaches personhood, they should also get to know shame. All right, we should move on to the next thing because it's going to get real depressing and dystopic if we keep talking. This one is actually pretty depressing and dystopic too. This is a phishing attack that targets the Guardian's whistleblower secure drop service. Shout out to Shitty Kids for finding this. This is pretty scary. So basically, secure drop is something that you can use to send stuff over Tor to journalists if you don't want to get like your head chopped off by your government or whatever. And this is a fake version of this, which phishing stuff on the dark web is pretty interesting because there's not really like domain trust, like things that you would normally use, like just a big block of like characters. Like you don't really know what they are, so it's like harder for me if I were to see, the real Guardian one versus this. I wouldn't be able to tell the difference, right? And so yeah, this has both this fake, entire fake secure drop, as well as an entire fake secure drop app as well. It's backdoored and harvests creds, and does other sorts of stuff. It's basically a rat. And yeah, I mean, I don't know who this would possibly be targeting, but it's pretty frightening to think that that's something that would be spoofed.
So here's the thing, like this kind of thing has been happening for a while now. I want to say over 5 months, but for darknet sites like drug sites, things like that, they've been getting uh, denial of service tax, and then there's fake sites put up in their place that directly mirror. They're just proxies. Excuse me. They're just proxies actually of the real site. So it takes you through whatever captchas the site throws at them and all this other stuff, and then the only step that they inject their thing into is the Bitcoin step when you need to deposit your money, and it's fairly brilliant how they're setting it up. In that they whoever made the kit was pretty brilliant, but the people that are actually running the campaigns are not terribly smart. Like this is definitely purchased gear.
It's like a sort of like smash and grab kind of thing. It's like man in the middle things. Like it's this one though so I understand about darknet markets for stealing money. This isn't for money though. This is for stealing.
Yeah.
This is
this is an interesting one because like
replacing like your psychiatrist or like your pastor that you're doing a confessional to, like with some foreign agent.
The interesting thing about this one is that people care about it, and to me, like nobody really cared that much about the darknet markets being attacked because they're the bad guys. But now that we have the good guys being attacked, people care. And I think it's maybe an important lesson that maybe we should start caring about both sides.
Yeah,
I think it's
what I found really interesting
don't
about
know.
this is that right, because the way that onion addresses are just random garbled characters. Like
hard
you
to
can
tell.
do the vanity thing, right? Where people generate vanity addresses all the time, but like if you're generating a vanity address that's just like the first 6 characters of an onion thing, it's like, ooh, like maybe like you could be a little bit more tricky with it.
So I guess one of my things here is like hacking a site for financial purposes is bad, but it happens a lot, right? Like there's a lot of financial phishing, but hacking a site specifically designed for whistleblowing and sharing of information, often about countries and large organizations, is an interesting approach. I don't know, who that would really. I don't know if that'd be particularly valuable to like your run-of-the-mill black hat.
Yeah,
no, it's only for oppressive regimes that are waiting for people to.
Right, and so that makes me think that like I'm wondering who is running this campaign, and it feels like there's not a really good reason to run this unless you have a need for state secrets from other states or something.
It also might be
or to like
someone.
Yeah, or to stop information, right? Like if you wanted to. So I think that you mentioned that the reason people were concerned about this is because it's a good site versus a bad site. I think it's less about that. I think it's more about this is a fairly unique like target for a phishing campaign. I don't know. Like I feel like I'm way more used to seeing financial phishing.
Yeah, financial is completely different from state secrets.
If you were the actor though, like if you wanted one specific secret that you knew somebody was going to leak, or you had reason to believe it was going to leak, setting up something like this and just waiting around, like just ignoring the 99% of shit that comes through and being like, not that useful. This guy's just paranoid. He should probably see a doctor. And then, getting that one thing over, that it might be, maybe you're running the campaign for a year. And that's worth it, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and also like you're going to get more than one thing of value, most likely. And if you're a nation state, then it's about the long game, right? Like, well, I think also really like the other thing that this could be used for is stopping people from providing information, right? If you get somebody to submit a secret to this site, they don't realize it's a phishing site, you've effectively silenced that person.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It also takes like the guts to whistleblow. Like it takes that confidence to build far enough where you're like, okay, I'm going to post it today, and you're like, this might be a bad idea. Eventually they post it, and then once they posted it, they're like, all right, my part's done.
Yeah.
Right. Well, even if they did figure out it was a phishing site, there's a pretty good chance they still wouldn't submit it again because, like, I don't know, I'd be pretty fucking scared at that point because somebody now has that information and they intentionally stole that information. So I'd be like, let's get out of the country, shall we?
I mean, the thing about it is, like this is, targeted. This is targeted at someone. I do like, because it's like, just these onion links aren't easy to find. I would be interested to see how he actually stumbled upon it, but
yeah. So was it actually an onion link? I see the tweet here. It was an IP address.
Yeah. So he had, I forget how he was telling me a little bit about it. I don't know how he unmasked the IP, but he, I guess, found that he said that this is being served from 2 different servers. And
yeah, it looks like he has a census link for IPv6 host for host fingerprint.
Wait, it was IPv6. Oh, interesting.
Or no, sorry, IPv4. My bad.
I was gonna say that would.
So I think it's like it's a host key fingerprint. I don't know how that happened, like how he got that host key fingerprint, but
I would say it's one of those things where it's the shared SSL key across 2 machines.
Yeah, something like that. Seems like it.
Across 2 interfaces. My bad. And comparing that on the 2 things, but on the IPv6 note, disable IPv6 if you're not using it, because then you don't have to secure it. Well,
yeah. No, I mean, it's definitely interesting attack vector. We should talk to Shitty Kids more in chat about this after, because it's pretty interesting. But the next one we have on here. So this we had seen a little bit of people talking about it, all the different names. So North Korea's state-sponsored hacking teams are getting sanctioned. Interesting. I mean, I don't really know what this is going to mean for them. Besides that, I mean, everyone's already known. They've I don't know.
It's not going to do anything.
Yeah, symbolic.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, also like their state-sponsored hacking group. I think that if you put restrictions on that, I don't know.
You are not allowed to hack
anymore.
No
Please not.
Prices go up.
Bitcoin. No more Bitcoin. You're
done. And also, like, there's a lot of other things that North Korea probably shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, this is like the least of the, I mean,
like
not the least, but it's definitely pretty. It's amongst the constellation of other transgressions.
Did you know that they make some of like the best counterfeit US dollar?
Yeah,
not surprising. Yeah.
They it's like they say it's almost impossible to tell.
I wonder if they still do though, right? Because we just swapped out all of our money pretty much except for $1 bills.
We don't report any of the stuff that they're going to be printing. At their intranet there, all the
they have one printer.
Yeah, it's reverse engineered to be able to print it out. But yeah, no, I mean, interesting. Side note to this too, I tweeted out asking if anybody had the art of the original skeleton of the that was used in the Sony hack, and somebody, like, I don't even know who it was, somebody just like, oh yeah, I spent like hours on like Yandex and I found the original image for you, and I just posted it on Twitter.
Yeah, that blew my mind when I saw that.
Pretty cool, because I couldn't find it anywhere. There was no reference to it. It was like a CGI skeleton, but I'm like, there's no way that they made this. Like, no one like sat and drew this like biker meme style skeleton.
Yeah, like 90s, like late 90s CGI.
Yeah.
I mean,
I gotta see
somebody
this.
always did at some time in the history, somebody did sit there and draw it, but
yeah, I'm just saying I definitely wasn't North Korea.
Yeah.
Hey now,
The share
you don't know
zone.
that much about North Korea. There's not. I don't know. They don't have enough computers to distract them.
There is
yeah.
Out of that, there was the Yandex's reverse image search was better than Google's, or at least rivaled it very closely.
Yeah, it's really good.
So was their
Glorious
translation.
Leader. Glorious Leader makes best Facebook or face-to-face page.
No, I love that the face page. That was a really good. That was a really like spooky.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, what? I'm not sure what you're talking about.
The North Korea the face page. Here's the. I just put
a
Oh,
link in chat.
I was wondering why you did that. I'm looking at it going, oh, this. Yeah, okay. In my brain, it did not put these two fucking things together. How crazy
I
is
just like,
that?
putting spooky skeleton photos in the chat.
Everybody
That's
in
wonderful.
Twitch chat, if you could type "Thank Mr. Skeletal," please.
Oh, thank Mr.
I'll put that in the
Skeleton.
background for the rest of the show. Hold on.
Yeah. Do we have the actual notice? The
face page
notice?
image.
Yeah, the face page looks way cooler.
Yeah, I didn't get the full deface page, but I ended up getting the actual skeleton. So, I mean, that's at least cool.
I just realized there's like at least two or three like people on the bottom of that page.
Yeah, isn't that
Little head.
literally like frightening? That's a very
that's really sketchy. I don't know who those people are supposed to be, but like if I was
they have their faces are all like
happy.
scary and like messed up. Yeah, it's definitely one of the most unsettling deface pages I've ever seen. So, congrats. But now it's in the background of the show.
If I recall, they made it come up on all the screens at the same time too. Like,
oh Jesus! Do you like make a really loud noise? That would be the last piece that's required for.
Probably. That'd be. I
like
would
how the
not
whole
doubt
chat
it.
just thank Mr. Skeleton. Just like over the little stupid image of like the skeleton. It's just perfect.
Oh man, I wonder if we could get somebody from Sony that used to work there that went through it to come on. I wonder if there's anybody in our orbits. That would be fucking awesome.
Or even like a software engineer who saw what was going on.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Help desk person.
You gotta find somebody that's not under NDA. So yeah, like a help desk person maybe. Or...
I don't know, like they might have a cap on the NDA. So.
Oh, actually, aren't they unenforceable in California or something like that?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm just going with it's unenforceable.
That's always the best way to approach any sort of legal question.
I think that may be not the piece you're thinking about. But.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, you're right. And it is.
It's like I'm trying to take a good screenshot of this, and it's tough.
Those NDAs.
Okay. Alrighty. I'm done. Okay, so back to our podcast that we're doing. So the next one that we have here is ICE fails to properly redact a document and reveals the location of the urban warfare training facility. This is just like classic, like whoops, like Benny Hill.
Baby's first security whoopsie.
No, because ICE and ICE affiliated agencies, as we've seen in the past, have just done some bizarre stuff with just leaving things out, like not redacting documents, like just it's a comedy of errors, really.
Well, the worst part about this is that this has happened before too, and it's that they redact it, but it's literally just like shoving like a PNG over text, and so you can still copy
it's the
document,
it's
and so it's like
thing, right, where the original data is still there.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, it's almost worse than not redacting it at all, right? Because that someone looks at it and goes, "Okay, yeah, this is redacted," right, and just shoves it on down the line.
Enhanced layers.
Also, like, it's possible that nobody would have known that was like a sensitive piece of information had it not had a little black bar over it.
Yeah, but if you change the color of the black bar to highlight the opacity to 0.3, that's going to be a highlight for you now. Now you know all the bits.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Mr. Skeletal.
Thank Mr.
Skeletal. So we should skip over a couple of these because we've been on here for a bit. I wanted to talk a little about the this company built a private surveillance network one about the license plates. This is pretty interesting because this is not something that I guess it's like an interesting way to collect data. I guess it says repo men, different people have been collecting where they've been using ALPR to track cars and just put them all into this giant aggregate database where you can pay like $70 to get like a live alert of like when the next time a car is spotted and where, and have it placed on a map, and then just have all the information about the car as it goes. Because this is extrajudicial. This isn't made by this is just made by some random people who just have this.
This is for dog bounty hunter.
Yeah, this is like bounty hunter stuff. Yes.
This is where we get into the ideal that you should be more afraid of corporations than the government.
Absolutely. It takes way less red tape to build something like this than it does with anything else. Like, get a bunch of your buddies to just set up ALPR stuff and then just set up a database and kaboom.
LPR data managed over 9 billion scans.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of data. And
Which
that's just
company is
people
this?
can continue to add to it and then get money for it.
It's called DRN, Digital Recognition Network. Yeah.
But also the one comment that pops out in here, now it pops out so big I feel stupid being like, hey, the thing that's in the cars being in front of people's houses and stuff as well, because if it's consistently in front of a place at a time, that's probably where they work. Or
it's similar to the the ASOC probe stuff in that you can, based off of little snippets of location, right? Like you can reconstruct a lot about where somebody goes, what they do, all that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if you look at the panel, like the screenshot, they have stuff like seen more, like has this vehicle been seen moving, vehicle last seen date, vehicle first seen date, like does it move, is it there more often during the day, like that kind of thing, which is like some crazy data.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff.
And it's just if these guys can use it, I'd imagine that it's not that difficult to get access to this tool.
Yeah,
go
ahead.
A bounty hunter's super tech savvy? I don't think so.
No, but they're also and also somebody can teach somebody else how to use this tool, and I don't know that I think of bounty hunters as particularly ethically driven people in general.
Yeah.
So I could see this being abused a lot.
Well, it's kind of, you have the whole bounty hunter perspective of it, but it's data, which is basically money. So what happens when that data set or somebody utilizes that for stalking or some hyper harassment?
It's already ethically debatable whether or not you should be able to use that for bounty hunting, right? Because you're basically surveilling people without consent. But yeah, it's you could use it for quite a few much more screwed up things.
Well,
I'm looking at the customer list right now, or the providers list that DRN has listed up, and they're almost all, except for one, it looks like might be a bounty hunting, but these are all asset recovery and debt collectors.
Yeah, it reminds me that there was a story that we had
that's
about
fucking scary though. To have a debt collector stalking you to that extent. Sorry, Sean.
Oh yeah, no, debt collectors can get very aggressive.
I was gonna say, there was that story, right, where it was people 3 dead in shootout,
oh yeah,
based on GPS evidence, claimed from a bounty hunter or some shit like that. You think about it, and that's literally this same sort of data, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, like you look at this data and you go, okay, private company has this, it's leaking it out to individuals, and that just goes, all right, so the people who are actually tracking people are what, 10, 20 years ahead of this?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you look at like China,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
if you're
even
talking about,
US, I'm sure that
we've got some pretty sophisticated stuff. Yeah.
So this is just like the base, like the entry level.
Right. This is like the Chinese knockoff version of a surveillance tool.
Yeah. The scary thing about this is its availability versus like you were saying, the red tape around building it internally is much different.
Well, yeah, and the fact that like it's kind of scary because like given enough time, basically anybody could build something like this. Right?
Absolutely.
I think that's kind of that's the crazy part for me. It's like you now have these systems that like it's really not that hard to build your own little surveillance kit. Like you could make a network of pies, you could have them snap traffic, you could have them have a camera, and yeah.
No, that's definitely true. It's just something to just, as you said, Dan, be more afraid of corporations and people who just have lower ethics but somewhat of a organizational capacity than any government. So the next story that we have on here, Nux, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm here. What's up?
Okay. The next story, so a name was given to those miners that you had found.
Oh, really?
Called SkidMap. SkidMap Linux malware is using basically just a rootkit that installs a cryptocurrency mining payload. So we actually, a couple days ago, the Safari channel, were talking about it because you had found, I don't know where you found those initial payloads, but
I'm going to the show notes so I can go to this link. If someone could post it in chat really quick, that'd be a lot better.
1 second. Yeah, post it in the Zoom chat. And kaboom.
Can we talk about how that's like just the best name?
Yeah, SkidMap is. I wasn't sure what it was until I saw it, and I'm like, wait, I know these exact binaries.
What is this? Was this the Pastebin one?
No, this was the one that was a script that had a bunch of vaguely named binaries like NetGuard and like crypto and things like that, like very, very generic names.
Yeah. Okay.
They would stage and load other binaries. So like they used inhale.py, I'll talk about it in a little bit, to pull URLs out of it to grab the other binaries that it had, and then I was able to pull all those and analyze them and store them. So did we have a sample somewhere?
Yeah, it was on my honeypot. I have like a shit ton of them actually, because I'm pretty sure it got hit a few times with this.
Yeah, it was interesting though.
What was the entry point?
It was a shell script that was loaded by what? Was it an exploit?
So there's like a couple of them. Now, see, there was one that was like trying to run stuff through Telnet, and then there was this really weird one where they were like trying to do some type of a Java exploit to do like an RCE.
Yeah.
So like a WebLogic thing or something.
Yeah, something like, and then and since obviously my shit wasn't actually vulnerable, it was just a honeypot. It never actually downloaded it. I just went and got the script that it was supposed to download. So
right,
I just have them trying to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, but we ended up pulling all those binaries and pulling them apart and finding like other binaries that were staged. It was like a lot of stages to it. There was like many binaries that it would set up for persistence. So yeah, definitely anybody who's interested, read this write up because it was pretty complicated, I guess. A lot of stuff. You get tired of seeing like the same like stupid like BusyBox based like bot, and you're like, oh, it's a real rootkit that's being sent over like a remote exploit. Like, cool. Like it's a lot nicer.
Well, I mean,
a lot more interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. We saw something like that, a couple months ago with there was a script that would load other scripts from Pastebin and then just be process hiding through the rootkit.
Yeah. No, this one had multiple URLs as well.
Yeah, this is like ramping it up to the next level with this stuff. It's interesting.
Yeah,
it's getting more sophisticated.
Let's see, like one of the things, there's a couple of things that I have about this is like CPU mining sucks, like just as it is. And they've gone to all the effort of like, it starts off with like LD preload. It replaces the PAM Unix file. It's it's doing things to hide its CPU usage and stuff from the system. It's all of this work for, you're going to need to infect a lot of machines to get anything out of this.
They're doing Ethereum. That's what they were targeting for.
Well, I think also, like, if you infect enough machines, it doesn't have to be a shitload, but if you can avoid being detected, you could run for a couple years. And I think that might be part of it, is like, if you evade, because for a while you saw like the spray and pray, like, let's try to get, and you still see this, like, let's try to get as many devices as possible, even if it's super noisy and super obvious and resets on reboot. But I think that what's starting to happen is that if you get stealthy and you sit on a box for a long period of time and you're just mining away, eventually that will end up being beneficial.
Yeah. I mean, it also opens up because there's a back door that was set by it as well. So, I mean, you pretty much just own the whole thing covertly, which is pretty nice, I guess, if you're running a big crypto botnet. I mean, you can convert it and use it for something else if nobody's noticing it.
Patches. You can propagation. If there's a new exploit that's out, Loopkeep or whatever, you can spread by that.
Where is the? I'm trying to look. Where does it actually load the LKM kit? Like, I don't see.
I don't know. I actually didn't get that far in the like analysis process. I was just pulling out symbol tables and strings.
But
it mentions that the file is installed as user bin k-d, which is a loadable kernel module.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see where it actually escalates to do that.
Yeah, I didn't get that far into the analysis process either. The blog is like, it explains it sort of, but there's a lot of different components to explain. I don't really know. I only saw this today, so.
While we're on the topic of coin miners, I'm dropping a different one that I found on my honeypot in the Twitch chat. Have fun.
Cool.
Nice.
But yeah, all right. What's the next one here? Next one I just threw on there because it was interesting. Cubans are just using cryptocurrency. They had the opportunity to. So yeah, so great equalizer in the world of sanctions and geopolitics. This next one here too, about American medical images and data available on the internet. I didn't get to see too much of this, but I don't know if anybody else had read this. This is just like another one of those things. I'm like, oh great, just more records online somewhere.
Yeah, new and different records this time though. Like, it's not just my first name, last name, address, password all over again for the 50th time. Now it's like pictures of my bones.
Yeah. I actually I recently got an MRI and was able to get my hands on the disk that they used to store the data. I have a need to go pick that apart and see what kind of setup they have. It has one of those little compatible with things on the CD, so I'm pretty sure it has some sort of executable that it uses to.
Do you remember that guy that was like
horribly insecure?
You remember the ELWire, like anonymous mask guy, 4chan man?
Yeah.
Threatening people. Yeah, and he had like MRI. I've got these MRI scans of my body. You can see my image.
Yeah, right.
Well, tell you guys about my eyeball scan.
No.
I went to the doctor and they're like, we have this machine and it'll scan your eyes and it'll send you back a picture of it, and that's what we do instead of dilating your eyes and all this. And I was like, oh, send me a picture, huh? And she's like, yeah, I'll send you the picture after we're done. So I was like, okay, cool, whatever. Like, I want to see, like, get into this and see if it'll automatically email me like some eyeball files, right? And then then I could see if it's like some big convoluted web app full of eyeball data. And instead, like, after the end, she was like, okay, I'll email it over. And she just like sent me 2 PNGs from her work email. I was like, that's so much less interesting than I hoped it would be.
No way, dude. All you need now is her Gmail sent, like, her outbox. That's it. Now you've got all the eyeballs.
Yeah.
Or is there any metadata in the PNGs that you could pull from?
I am going to pick it apart. I haven't yet.
There's this
and that would be
there's a little site called Have I Been Pwned, made by this random dude in Australia. You should go check it out.
What's his name? Something jet ski.
Yeah, jet ski.
It'd be funny if there was just a web shell in there in the PNG.
Oh
I
my
was
god.
thinking about. I got so mad. I was trying to back up some files, and I had like unminified some JavaScript that, or I had unobfuscated some JavaScript that I was playing with that I wrote that is not malicious, and Windows Defender just deleted it and would not let me get it back. And I'm like, I wrote this is my thing that I wrote. It's a puzzle.
Oh my
And it
god.
was like, no, this is like a remote, like, like shell. I'm like, no.
I accidentally extracted Cobalt Strike onto my Windows.
Oh god.
Yeah,
and
you hear your
Defender
fans go.
had a fucking heart attack. Like,
Oh,
it was like
I feel really bad for people who write very large, extensive PowerShell scripts. Their life must
Yeah.
be a really sad, hard life.
So
your own OS working against you.
just
Yeah.
looking at our Twitch stream right now, and I'm looking at the skeleton, and he's got eyeballs. So I think he knows the secret.
he knows.
Eyeball PNGs. Look at that. He's got
Yeah, that's a good question. Why does that skeleton have eyeballs? Does he have a tongue?
Yeah. And a tongue. No, he doesn't have a tongue. That's a neck.
No.
He
I
does
think
have
this-
eyeballs. So
this
he's figured it
skeleton-
out. He's the APT of eyeballs.
IPT.
This will be our new mascot. Yo,
I
and
think
then
some of them might have already claimed it.
this other one here, next story is pretty interesting too. The Coast Guard is trying to figure out who is behind this threatening radio broadcast, which we can play. Hold on, let me see if I can just play it. Can y'all hear the stream?
I cannot. But
Hold on, I'm just gonna play it for a second to see. Hold on.
Attention all Coast Guard stations. I say again, attention all Coast Guard stations. The next time you scramble any aircraft or any aircraft carrier, we're going to bomb your ships. Do you understand me? Number two, the next time you send off any aircraft or any aircraft carrier or helicopters, I'm going to set off every depth charge in the Gulf and sink your ships. That's number two. Number three, you are to close down all airports of America. Otherwise, I'll set off the death charges. Number four, the next time I see one of your planes in the air, I'm going to shoot that plane down and kill the pilot and the passengers. That's number four. And I'm going to shake your ships all apart with our death charges. You are playing with the Russian government. I suggest you back the because if you don't back the you're going to lose a lot of Coast Guardsmen. Do you understand me? Keep your airliners and you keep your ships on.
So
What did he say
Well, and
about
it's just
all
like-
American airports?
You can tell that he's Russian by the accent.
Are we?
I'm back.
As soon as I hear an echo, I'll yell.
Confirm we're live on the TV that's streaming.
No, we're not back.
Okay, cool. I guess we're back. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
there we go.
weird. I don't know what just happened there, but something happened, and I'm sorry about that.
This dollar VPN club. We were using it to hide our conversations from the government.
Yeah,
but...
the depth charges went off.
Well, dollar. The dollar VPN club, rest in peace, would have protected us from such.
Thank you, Mr. Skeletal.
Thank you, Mr.
The skeletal did not want for us to talk.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think what we missed in the till the VHF channel information for that broadcast was unencrypted, 157 megahertz, being maritime safety information broadcasts on channel 16. So anybody can speak on it if you have the power to.
Yeah. So literally, like $40, maybe $30 even at Amazon. Just look up a Baofeng. They're quote ham radios, and they are so inexpensive and amazingly cheap and really super fun. However, gonna put a little asterisk down there, and this is my attorney at law advice. Don't broadcast on law enforcement frequencies. You can actually probably do that, and it won't mess with them. However, on this one, clearly it's messing with them. Usually they have. It's just a bad idea in general.
Yeah.
An Australian guy got on the air traffic control thing and gave some air traffic commands and
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
Jesus.
that comes with like a 40-year maximum jail sentence. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Is it
Well-
really worth making if this has any jail time attached to it? Is it really worth being
Yeah.
government depth charge?
Well, it's like all 20 people who listen to that channel will hear you, and
So, unfortunately, I didn't actually hear the audio when it started playing. Actually, all my audio cut out. But I'm gonna listen to it later. It sounds like it was hilarious. But
Yeah,
depending
no,
on depending on whether it came from America or Cuba, because Cuba's right there, right? So it easily could just be from Cuba messing with us. And if
it
it
sounds
is,
like someone's drunk uncle in Florida, but what's up?
yeah.
oh, okay. Well, depending on if it's from somebody in the U.S. doing it to U.S. authorities, they're messing with fire, and it's not because the U.S. authorities have all these amazing tactics to track people. It's because there's a lot of ham radio enthusiasts that will track him and track him down to the
Get 'em,
exact
boys.
point. You know what
Oh,
I mean?
yeah.
Like, again, private sector being more dangerous than the actual government here.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but for a good reason.
I've been warned that to check your what are they called, call sign, before you use it, because people in the past have used the call, unknowingly used the past use the call sign of people who have died, and the ham radio operators who knew that person just going off the chain and being like,
oh yeah,
hey, you can't use that. That's and then finding out who they are and where they live through radio means.
Yeah, getting ham doxed.
Yeah, getting ham doxed.
I mean, I can kind of understand that though. It would be pretty shitty to have somebody who had died and to see somebody using their handle.
Yeah, and that's on IRC. I mean, we've seen it happen, I guess, already.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, so the last one we have on here, or no, actually that's the last one. Does anybody have anything else they want to bring up about from Goodreads or useful or cheap?
I did
absolutely did.
What?
But I don't remember.
Oh, I changed a bunch of code in Paste Hunter and made it so it worked with GitHub feed.
Yes, I meant to put that in there actually. Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, no, you're fine. Yeah, it's pretty much the best GitHub scanner I've seen, and I've seen a lot of them.
Wait a
built
minute.
a couple.
You put it up there? Nice.
Yeah, well, right now it's a PR. I have 2 PRs to Face Hunter. I haven't heard back from the guy on either of them, but yeah, they're both pretty solid. One of them does compression on paste contents, and the other adds support for GitHub public feed. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Yara stuff on GitHub. I also ported just about every single GitHub dork to Yara format. So those are now part of that rule set. They haven't merged it yet. I haven't heard back from them though. So yeah, but it's a PR. Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking about doing a fork if I don't get a response in like a couple weeks, because I've got a couple of really good changes for that, and I did that with Sublister, but then AMAS came out and kind of blew that out of the water.
Oh yeah.
So you've been working on Inhale.py?
Yeah. So speaking of Kev the Hermit and Pace Hunter, I actually used some of those Yara rules for it. But yeah, so this on Friday, I just finally like got sick of having this thing in my home directory and on some remote servers of mine. And I had so back it up, like a while ago, I started just collecting like just so much malware and like just trying to find like as much malware as possible, especially like malware source code. I've been someone be setting up like a C2 or something, or somebody did X, Y, and Z and wanted to leak someone else's source. I basically needed like a way to like scale like how to like do the manual work of like validating and like deduplicating and like just all sorts of grabbing of like different files, like different binaries and everything. And so I ended up making this like a bunch of scripts that would like do all that work for me. And then those worked for a bit until I wanted to like start sharing it a little bit more with people, and also make it more useful and like less bespoke as I was trying to do each individual feature. But so then I just spent a little bit of time like just turning the whole thing into like a little library that we could use. And I put out like a beta release of this thing called Inhale, which is a tool that basically does like a ton of different static analysis techniques and enumeration on the binary with a couple different tools. And it just throws it all into an Elasticsearch database for you to play with data in. And so it's basically, it runs like a bunch of enumeration with Ferrari 2, Binwalk, Yara, and some other like little bits of scripts that I had written to generate stuff for it. And it saves all of it. So it's pretty cool. I was able to find a lot of stuff with it. If you want to see the output from it, in the Safari Zone section, at the very bottom, it says U. This output of Inhale.py for some of the unpacked miners that were found in the wild, that we were talking about earlier. So it looks kind of like this. I'll post it in the stream chat here. So yeah, this stuff, it looks, as an output, I wanted to make it like pretty because clearly love pretty printing everything. But yeah, what's ultimately useful though is that it can pull out, it can carve stuff from different files, it can pull URLs from different things. It's basically everything I'd want to do by hand when I'm analyzing a binary, and it just does it for me. And it puts it into something that looks nice as output. So
I
yeah,
think there's also another very nice feature, which is an animated Kirby, true false.
Yes, there's an animated Kirby. The Kirby in the banner of it that I had put in there is it blinks, so the mouth looks like it's opening and closing, and inhaling. So if you have a terminal that supports the blink ANSI escape code, you'll see a nice animated Kirby.
Otherwise, it just looks really, really awful.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I've been put it out there. I mean, like, so usually like I don't really like I have a bad habit of not sharing tools, so I've been trying to share more tools and like make them like presentable to people. Plasma has definitely helped to do a once over of the code when I had put it up originally to share with people, because I was like all over the place. It was basically like 5 different scripts that were like all really, really crappy in their own right, but they did something cool. So I had to put them all together to make into something that like is actually usable by other people. So it's in beta mode right now. It's like it's pretty like, I mean, it's up for development to like see what people would want to add to it or other ideas. Some people are talking about making some Docker images for it and adding some more tools. This guy Mitch sent me this really cool malware, like a clustering engine that he wrote that he said that he could port for it and stuff like that. So there's a lot of people who just like have come up with different use cases for it, and so I'm just kind of letting it play out and see what people suggest or what people would want, and then go from there.
Yeah, it
Nice.
sounds real dope.
Yeah, man. I'm
excited to see what happens, where it goes.
I'm pretty shocked that this hasn't really happened before to this magnitude. So very cool.
I mean, there are a lot of stuff for it. I mean, there are dynamic sandbox tools. There are other frameworks that can do analysis on things, but some of them require you, like they tie into like paid services like virus tools.
Well, I think also like a sandbox tool is slightly different than this. At least from what I've seen so far, this is mostly static analysis. Which
I didn't want to
especially
do
like
anything dynamic.
Yeah. If you're automating this kind of thing, then it's a lot dicier to do a sandboxing kind of
Yeah.
thing.
So the only real like risks, I mean, I had put in some logic originally to unzip stuff on the fly, but that's dangerous. I don't want to do that. But I mean, like, you analyze on your own.
I think with unzipping, as long as you use an existing library in Python, there's a really easy way to restrict it to just explode within the current directory. But
no, there's like it's just a matter of you don't want to trust any of the input. It's all malware. It's like strictly malware.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, there's some other features I wanted to add. I might have to change like the data model and what I use for the backend because I don't think Elasticsearch is good for having large arguments of indexes. But
well, it's also slightly, it's kind of difficult to like. It takes a little bit more push to deploy like an Elasticsearch instance than if you're just storing it.
That was one of the first things I was thinking about. Was moving it to another like NoSQL like MongoDB or something, but we'll see. That's all still just waiting for people's evaluation of what they would want. But yeah, I wanted to do stuff like pulling out like import and export tables of binaries and DLLs, and a bunch of other stuff. Like basically,
it'd be cool if you did like if you did jar file unpacking as well, or C# stuff.
Yeah, no, there's the .NET stuff. Like I was actually struggling with Radare 2 because their .NET support is kind of like just thrown on there, so it kind of just prints data from like metadata streams to like standard.
So really, what you probably want to do, like for Java, there's really good libraries for decompiling. I don't know about for C#, but imagine there is. I'll bet you there's Python bindings for all of that, and so you could probably integrate directly with libraries and tools that are built specifically for that. Or even run a CLI that's built for that, and then just analyze the static files.
Yeah, so I was just kind of waiting to see what people's opinions were, because like I mainly do more reversing on either like firmware things or on Linux-based stuff. So I wanted to see other people's suggestions for like other operating systems and platforms and stuff, because there's tons of tools to tie into it. But like, I don't know, it's just a thing that I put out as a pet project. I didn't want to like make it some big crazy thing, but if people had ideas for it, I'd love to work and implement some stuff, because it's ultimately useful for if you're just like a hobbyist researcher and you need to do something that will help you understand what you're looking at better. And also if you are looking to get into binary analysis in general, it's something that is that will help you understand like the sort of process that you need to go through and what you actually have to look at. Because people try to approach binary analysis and reversing, people will just open it up in like a debugger or something immediately, rather than like doing all the enumeration first to even make sure that you know what you're looking at. Because there's a lot of like I've written binaries that no debugger can open. I finally beat Radare 2 a few months ago, and Radare 2 I have stuff that it can't even parse. And so like there's like malware is going to be like that too, like where it just
and also
makes sense with it until you run it.
Opening a debugger is also a relatively high risk thing.
Yeah,
you're actually popping it into a debugger. I think one of the things is this project reminds me a lot of AMATS. They started with a very simple like core concept, but they kind of exploded in a million different directions, and then fell under the OWASP umbrella. So that kind of blew everything up as well. So they do like a bunch of OSN stuff now instead of just the subdomain enumeration.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm excited to see where it goes. I mean, I want to work more with community stuff. I don't really like work too hard with people with this, but definitely want to get into it more to create something that is simple to use and that people can use if you are a hobbyist or a researcher or just getting started. Like at least it'll give you a ground footing to understand and like contextualize a lot of the concepts that are like hard to explain all at once to people. So
Yeah, I love it just because it gives you a good starting point of like what to look at. Like you can just look at something and be like, oh, like this, like here's a URL that it pulled out of here. Or, like let's throw that into VirusTotal, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's that's kind of stuff because I don't do any reversing, but I do like throwing things into sandboxes, and I do like throwing things into tools like this, and just find you can find a lot of fun stuff just going that far.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely gonna continue working on it. I'll let people. I mean, I put it out just on Saturday, so it's only been out for a couple of days, but we'll see what people come at me with in the next week or two, and continue to develop from there. So yeah, that's one of the things I've just been doing. I actually have a write up that I finished, but I need to put some CSS on, so put out about how to use it and like why it's useful. So yeah. Hermit, while you're here, do you have any words to say on your 2FA code dork?
Don't use those for your accounts. I don't know.
Wait, what?
So
words.
I'm looking at my phone.
Hermit had found a thing where, she basically just found like the ultimate dork for finding 2FA codes on those like temporary phone number websites.
I didn't even know there were so many of those.
On
those websites?
There's like quite a lot of them. So they're
like temp fake phone number.
But there's like some that are actively being used, like you see like in real time, like, oh yeah, this was just used.
Oh man.
So
there was that reminds me of there was a site that recently came out. It was like on Reddit about it was literally a Duo authenticator as a service. So it'll just auto accept any 2FA requests that are sent to it via Duo. That like totally defeats the point of having 2FA.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like
right up on that somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, what was I gonna say? Does anybody have anything else to go? It's like 11. I actually kind of wake up kind of early tomorrow, so I'm thinking of going to bed in a second.
Oh, right. I did find the notes that I referenced. I was got to jump on a secondary stream. I'm not going to blow up the person's spot unless they elect to. But pretty fresh seeing like Hack in the Box concepts and doing the whole like chat thing, asking people like, "Oh shit, what's up?"
Oh yeah. If you're talking about me, yeah.
That's a 10 for.
Yeah. Yeah, it was super fun last night. Good times.
Last random thing, I did a random poll where I 17 people responded to it, and the threshold was if there's a laptop randomly found. What do you think the likelihood for the 7 people? What do you think the likelihood is that the drive is wiped or it's just gonna boot up and be somebody's work shit? I learned that everybody are huge optimists because only 3 people out of the 17 were like, yeah, that's going to boot up to an OS and probably be a domain machine for a business.
Okay, you should rerun that. We'll try and retweet that, get a little more sample size on that.
I think it depends as well heavily, like if it's a Mac and it's probably file vault and password, and the newer it is, the like less likely that you're actually going to obtain the data, even if it does boot up. But there's also some cool, fun things you can dump from the UEFI partition, like Wi-Fi SSIDs and other things to look at. So.
Yeah. Yes, you can. It's actually literally
That's
a feature.
Good maniacal.
Still. Yeah. So I guess does anybody have anything else to say before we get going?
Shut the fuck up and get a lawyer.
Don't ham drunk.
Don't ham drunk. Yes.
Be sure to take time and dab.
Welcome to the dystopian future you never wanted.
There we go. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for coming and hanging out. We'll see you next week with some more news and possibly some other people to come on and just chat with us. Thank you, Mr. Skelsel. Shout out to North Korean APTs.
Yeah.
Awesome art. Actually, I think I responded to it with a meme. Lorenzo had put out a thing about it. About the APT group. It's like so and so, aka. I'm just gonna find it real quick. But yeah, there's a lot of group names for these groups that get like absurd.
Yeah, well, it's because different companies find them.
Yeah, that's true.
I missed out. Yeah, of course. I missed out on saying aka Mr. Skeletal, but
Oh yeah. Did you guys see my threat actor name generator?
No.
No. What is it?
I made a GitHub page that literally it's just like the dumbest like random word generation thing, but it's from like APT names and different animals.
Yeah. Just keep going. Yeah. Loud moth. All right. I'm gonna just turn off the stream. We'll play us out here. Actually, I realize I'm very tired, so hopefully we'll get a good night's rest for the next week, and we'll see you when everybody wakes up again in 1 week exactly.
What's up?
Bye.